Hi, I'm Rick and you're watching Running with Spoons. And in this week, we're gonna see what happens when you touch these two wires together. Installing electricity requires an electrician, right? You know, unless you cheat. So this week, we're gonna complete a 120 volt and a 12 volt electrical install. And all without possessing anything more than basic electrical skills. Oh yeah, and hopefully not burning the bus down to the ground. Let's get something out of the way really quick. I am not an electrician. I do not pretend to be one. I do not play one on TV. And in fact, the idea of wiring this whole thing with Romex, with circuit breaker panels, with this and that and inverters and all the stuff that I don't know what it means, it scares the living crap out of me. Enter the Bluetti. Now, we're gonna go into a lot of details here shortly about what this fine thing is, but basically everything I just mentioned and more is already inside this box. One package, everything in one solution. Yeah, it's cheating. It's absolutely cheating. And yeah, it's a teeny bit expensive. I'll tell you the price on that later, but it's worth it. Now, this thing is usually used in a house for like UPS. You know, the grid power goes off. You want something that comes back on and keep your refrigerator going so your beer doesn't get warm. This is basically it. But it also runs off of solar panels and a whole bunch of other sources, which we're going to talk about in a minute. And yeah, so we're going to use it for an RV. People are starting to use that. Now, the thing is, it's big, it's heavy, it's clunky. This thing weighs about 100 pounds and this one probably about 60. They're stacked. I got a bunch of wood around it. Hopefully they won't fall down. But really quick, you have a bunch of AC that comes out. You can see, or regular AC plugs. DC, put it in a cigarette lighter. And it's got all kinds of USB ports as well. I'm going to show you how we're wiring in the bus and how I am cheating, because that's the absolute best part, is you don't have to wire this thing, not the way you're thinking at least. Okay, let's talk lighting. Everything in this bus is going to be 12 volt as far as lighting. Now, we're going to have general mood lighting in the front of the bus. And I think we're going to use those rope lights, those LED. They're really easy to install, and when they burn out, and of course they will, it's easy to replace. We're also going to have work lights. This is the dining area. There's going to be like a grow station down there. And this is all the kitchen. In the kitchen, you got to have work lights when you're cooking, because otherwise you're going to cut your finger off. You've also got rooms back here like the bathroom. You want to come to the bathroom, you want to hit the switch, because nobody likes to go poop in the dark. And of course, back here, you got the bedroom, and the bedroom's got to have some mood lighting as well. Hey, let's take a real quick break from all of the electrical discussion to actually get an electrical inspection. And I've got a very, very special inspector that I want to use, who I think could really help me understand if I've done any of this right. This is Liam Calder, the electrical inspector. What do you think of the wiring? Did I do it okay? Do you think that's fine? I tried to do it the other way with the black on the red and then the red on the black. I did it wrong, didn't I? He said I did it wrong. Now, I may get away with all of my electrical boo-boos because this inspector may or may not be related to me. This is my grandson, Liam. You are, oh my God, almost 9 months old now. And he weighs, well, he weighs more than this bus. Do you think I did this good? You want to try to help me put in the rest of it? Yeah, I think so too. So basically all the lighting in the bus, and of course a couple of vent fans, because you got to vent the bathroom as well, we all want to be 12 volt. That thing has 3,000, I'm reading on the side, 3,072 watt hours in that battery. And you can put 4 batteries into this thing. I hope we're not going to need it, but I'm going to discuss that in a little bit. That's the 12 volt system. All of these wires come into it, and I got to show you how easy it is. How easy it is to power this 12 volt. Let's go back to the back again. So all of the 12 volt wiring throughout the bus, and I used 14 gauge wiring, by the way, because I don't need it for the load, but hey, why not throw some better wire out there while you're at it? It all comes through the Medusa fuse panel and into a cigarette lighter. Want to know something easy? 12 volt. Every single light in this bus is now powered up. Now that's the 12 volt system. Now we do need house current as well, 120 volt, for things like, I don't know, the refrigerator and some of the cookware and things like that. Well, that's the easiest part yet. And I realize that a lot of electricians are going to go, oh my God, that's not up to code. I don't believe you actually did that, Rick, but this is what I'm using. An extension cord. Basically, we got heavy duty extension cords, and I've just run them down the sides of the bus up to where I'm going to need them. And here's the best part. I just plug them in. It's just literally, you ever tried to do one of these one-handed? Plug it in, just like that, and now there's power up there. Now, I am going to get a little more graceful than just having the end of an extension cord sitting out in the middle of the bus. There are these devices you can buy. You know the computer desk when you put the thing in the desk and it has a wire that plugs in and you have it. Basically, it's going to be decorative extension cords that mount into a wall, and that's what we're going to be hooking everything up into. But you don't have to wire Romex. You don't need a circuit panel. You don't need to make sure that you're not crossing wires and setting things on fire. It's as easy as just putting in an extension cord, and they've got 6 of these things if you really want to drain it, and include a big 30 amp thing if you really want to do that as well. Now, we are going to have one big draw on this thing, but we're going to have to get into that later. That's basically 12 volt. That's basically 120. Oh, and the USB ports right here, you got to love these things. All you got to do is put a big extension cord on them, like a big USB extension, pop things on each side of the bed, and voila, you got USB charging everywhere. Okay, Rick, that's all well and good, but what happens when you suck all the juice out of that battery? Because that can't last forever. How do you put juice back in? Well, there are many, many options that Bluetti gives you, and I think that's probably one of the better things that I love. Number 1, house current. There is an outlet that I've mounted on the outside of this bus that basically you take a heavy-duty extension cord, you stick it into the side of the bus, you put the other end into any outlet, just any other normal US 120 outlet, and this thing charges. I was at about 67% charge when I got this thing. In about 20 minutes, it was at 100. It charges incredibly quickly off of house current. Now, another option you have are solar panels. On a nice sunny day, you stick your panels out and this thing will charge up very easily. And I got to tell you something, you can do all of these at the same time. More on that in a second. We don't have them yet because we don't know if we want fixed panels on the roof. We don't know if we want portable panels so we can park the bus in the shade and haul them out. But you can charge the Bluetti off of solar. You can also charge it off the generator in your bus. Now, this had a handicapped lift in the back. We were kind of lucky. There were some dedicated, seriously heavy-duty power lines coming from the battery bank all the way back here. We're going to hook it right up into this Bluetti as well. So as you're driving, the Bluetti gets topped off. But wait, there's yet even more. Okay, here's the fun one, and I haven't bought this kit yet, but there's an optional kit where you can actually charge this thing off of Tesla charging stations. You know how electric cars are sort of making the wave everywhere and you got the electric charging stations? You can actually charge this thing off of one of those as well. So yeah, you've got multiple ways of getting this bad boy topped back off. Okay, let's talk loads. What kind of load are we planning on putting on this fine little battery system? Well, the normal stuff. You got your microwaves, your refrigerator, your Instapot, all the other good kitchen funds and accessories, charging the laptop, but there's a big one. Somehow we're going to try to get this thing and a mini split working together. And I'm not entirely sure right now that I can. Now, I have become quite the connoisseur of those Energy Star rating certificates. You know, those yellow stickers they put on the side of appliances. Take refrigerators, for instance. Nikki right now is shopping for the one we're going to put into this bus. Now, she's thinking about height, width, what kind of door space you can have, whether you could put a 2-liter bottle in there or not. I'm worried about how much juice is it going to suck out of that battery back there. Let's say you're in an off-grid situation and you don't have a lot of sun. It's kind of a cloudy day for a day or two. Does it really matter how many liters of Coke you can put in the door if you can't keep the refrigerator cool? There's a lot of things, a lot of considerations we're going to have to get used to. We're going to have to change the way we use refrigerator. Instead of opening the door and staring at it going, is there food going to magically appear? We're going to have to learn to open and close and get things in and out and be very, very energy frugal. Now, the mini split, the air conditioning in the back, that's a whole different story. Okay, I promised you a bit of an explanation of how this thing can be charged simultaneously. Now, they give you lots and lots of cables, and it isn't just so you can trickle power in from one source or another. There are 2 separate controllers inside of that box. And what that means is, well, you can have 2 separate ways of charging all at the same time. So let's say you wanted to plug in house current, 120 volt, get one side charging. You could also plug in your solar panels or your alternator off of your battery or any other thing that you want to do. You can do 2 separate charging sources at the exact same time. So yeah, if it takes, I don't know, 20 minutes to 2 hours to charge by one source and the other one takes 2 minutes to charge by, well, you put them together and all of a sudden things are charging a whole lot faster. Now, there are some, you can't do 2 sources of AC at the same time. And I think you can kind of do solar panels at the same time, the generator, but honestly, who's going to be driving their bus and using solar panels and their alternator? There are some limitations, but basically, yes, you can have multiple sources of charging into that Bluetti, which means it's going to charge so much faster, which is just, to me, another great benefit. By the way, are you listening, Bluetti? Are you recording all this? Because we are going to have a discussion fairly soon, and I really want you to understand just how pumped and excited I am for your wonderful product. Air conditioning is basically a giant question mark, and I have no answers for you right now because we're still doing research. The best I can figure out is we might be able to run it for a couple of hours a day. Now, maybe you can run it a little more during the day when you got full sun shining, but if you're running just off batteries, it's not going to last the night. Now, this is a problem that I guess every van lifer, every bus lifer, everybody who does this tries to figure out. In a house, you got electric coming in from the grid, from the big pole sitting out in the front yard. You really don't have that when you're off grid. Now, if we're parked in a lot where I can jack an extension cord into somewhere, yeah, maybe we can have air conditioning then, but there's a whole lot of changes, a whole lot of mindset that's going to have to go into, maybe, I just had an idea. Maybe I can get Bluetti to sponsor a video. Give me a couple more batteries and we'll just use those dedicated to that mini split that's going to be sitting right there on that wall behind me because Ricky doesn't like to get hot. So everything sounds great, doesn't it? This little Bluetti, it solves everything, every power problem I could have. So what's the drawback? All right, let's settle in and prepare yourself for a shock. That machine right there, $3,700. Yes, I know if I went out and bought the pieces parts, the individual batteries and the wiring and the inverters and the controllers and all of that, but everything's built in. Engineers, electrical engineers who know what they're doing have already built this in. They've built in the protection, so you can't overcharge, you can't undercharge, you really can't screw up much about anything. To me, it's absolutely worth it. But there's actually another benefit, something we're thinking about doing that this could really help with as well. Now, building a school bus is all well and good because it's a lot of fun. I'm actually having a blast, a complete blast putting this whole thing together. But at the same time, you got to use it. Now, we're going to drive around for a year or two. I have no idea how long, but we are going to drive around to different places. But what happens after that? What happens if we settle into a place that's a little more permanent? And that's where the Bluetti can probably help us a whole lot more. We have been talking about homesteading, and by that I mean getting a piece of land, a big plot of land, I don't know, maybe 5 acres or however many hectares that actually turns out to be, and just kind of living a little bit of an off-grid life or a semi-grid life. We're talking about Costa Rica, perhaps Panama, maybe even somewhere in the States. Now picture that Bluetti system taken out of the bus and put into a situation like that. If you had a bus with a normal build of electrical, it's stuck in the bus. If we took that bus down to Costa Rica, we could just lift that out and use it in our homestead. Yeah, the $3,700 is a lot high. It's a lot higher than I actually wanted to spend, but for peace of mind, ease of use, and the flexibility of being able to, I don't know, extend that into the next portion of our lives, whatever that might be, that's got to be perfect. Okay, plumbing done, electrical done, demolition done, a whole bunch of other stuff is done. Framing is coming up. Now, we are going to take a little break here. Next week, maybe the week after, we're not going to be working on the bus, so kind of stick around for, well, a little adventure because I miss traveling, and we're going to go do something really interesting. And in the meantime, watch whatever's popping up around here, left or right. I don't know where it's popping up, but it's more of, well, this before we get to that. With that, be healthy, be happy, and we will see you soon.